Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? You guys know you need to be ready to tell me that. Thank you for being here, by the way. Can you hear me? Because my mic is a pain in the butt. Oh, yeah. I do love this song. Go with another one at some point. Man, this is some catchy stuff. Right, smooth sounding. Thank you, Darksha Do. Happy to hear, happy to be smooth sounding. We're going to be coming to you from the Queen City and the Radio City. It's still cold as F. Well, hey, you guys are here. How awesome. And I believe you're hearing me. Let's get into the comments and see. Good beat. Yeah, you dig this song. Hear me, see me. I'm not singing a Who song, even though it kind of sounds like that. See me, touch me. Okay, well, I think I just got demonetized. In any case, thanks for being here. I know that Tony's folks have come on over. I know other people who are kind enough to be here. Thank you to you too. And I believe Hal was sending some of his folks over here at some point. So we may have some multiple raids, which is, of course, what happened on January 6th, which we Republicans like to pretend didn't happen. Those are different kinds of raids. Those are the kind where you try to overthrow your government and you're filled with a violent mob of Nazis, and you make sure that it takes long enough to prosecute the guy who led it so that we get a report that says, yes, he was guilty, he's an insurrectionist, and he should be in prison, but of course we don't prosecute him. Is that about a good summary, you all think? Good afternoon, Ronald. I see you there. Good afternoon to all of you. We're going to try stuff a little different. I'm going to start doing a few more rants and these things because I used to do a lot of them, and there's a lot of bad Republicans out there. The hearings are starting again, and there are people that just need to get their arses torn out, if I'm allowed to say that, which we'll find out. So I'm going to do that. I don't know what you guys saw yesterday, but let me give you a little rundown of the show. We're going to talk first about what went on with Mr. Pete Hegseth, who puts Brett Kavanaugh and Tippy and Diamond and Jingo and all of Kavanaugh's other friends he had on his calendar, he used to weightlift with when he was getting blackout drunk and harassing every woman around him. Yeah, we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth, who's kind of like that. And what went on, because everybody kicked his butt. But man, the women did a great job yesterday. Tammy Duckworth was, we have hey y'all from Kentucky, Petrazi, good state. I've lived and worked there. Mitch McConnell's terrible though. So we're going to talk about that, and then a little bit later, I'm going to do a bit of a rant on what Jasmine Crockett taking it to Nancy Mace, who's deserved to get it taken to her. We're talking verbally, of course, for the longest of times. So it was a wonderful thing to see. Let's start first with what went on with Pete Hegseth, the guy who sat there and in front of numerous senators, Jack Reed, I should probably say. Let's start with Cliff's Note. As part of Cliff's Note, we're going to call these little rants here the takedown, because that's what I used to call it. Let's take someone down. So, Pete Hegseth. Why is he nominee for Secretary of Defense? I don't know. He may have some naked pictures of somebody or something, because this man seems to glide through life like the billionaire class. Nothing ever happens to him. He's never held responsible. He is not allowed to serve as part of the National Guard protecting Joe Biden during the inauguration because he's so radical in what he said, and with his little Nazi tattoo, they thought he might be a danger to the president of the United States who was being inaugurated that day. But that was cool with Fox News. He ended up on their weekend anchor. And apparently there's a lot more he did wrong too, which we know because a lot of it was brought up during the last 2 months and during this hearing. Tammy Duckworth, however, was the star. Others landed punches, but oh my gosh. First of all, she asked him about ASEAN. do you know any countries that are ASEAN? He's like, yeah, I know all the Asians, man. I know the country of Asia. You know, it reminded me of the part from King of the Hill. You ever see that where their next door neighbor is like, I'm Laotian. And they're like, are you Chinese or are you Japanese? I'm Laotian. Are you Chinese or are you Japanese? I'm Laotian. What ocean? It kind of went like that. He just started naming a bunch of countries. He's like, oh, yeah, Asia, that country, that continent. It has Japan and South Korea. And she's like, basically shut him down. And he kept to keep one of the things he did, as they do, is he kept trying to interrupt and talk over the senators. Tammy Duckworth was having none of that. And she screamed at him at one point, and it was beautiful. But during this, she's like, no, ASEAN. He doesn't know what that is. That's Association of Southeast Asian countries. There's about 10 or 12 of them in it, including Vietnam, Laos, I believe Burma's in it, Malaysia. Look at this. I'm doing this off the top of my head. China, Japan, and South Korea are not among them. And it's an economic partnership, and it's a partnership around justice, I guess. Some of those countries don't have much of that, but if one of them catches somebody committing a crime, there may be extradition treaties. It's an economic, cultural partnership, all of that. He had no clue what she was talking about. Again, he was like, Asian? Well, yeah, I know Asia. I mean, I just went to the Chinese restaurant down the block the other day. All right. We don't care if you eat egg rolls, and we don't care if you had yourself some great General Tso's chicken, but we do care that you know what ASEAN is if you're going to be Secretary of Defense, because it kind of matters knowing what partnerships are out there among potential allies and also potential non-allies. All right. He didn't know that. She kept repeating it. She made him look stupid, and he kind of, for once, backed off a little bit and looked like he was a scared little puppy, but he kept trying to argue. The bigger deal came later, though. Oh, it was beautiful. So Tammy Duckworth asked him if he'd ever been part of an organization that had been audited. She's like, you don't need to be an accountant. You just need to tell me if you've ever been a part of an organization that's been audited. I need a yes or no answer. He's like, and he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't listen to any of these senators. Earlier, at some point, Jack Reed kept mentioning different drunk blackout episodes. Is like, I don't remember which they are. And of course, Pete Hegseth kept lying and saying, well, that was just online rumor. I think it was all online smear was his answer to each of them. So we can just make them up. It was like, so were you yelling yippee-ki-yay and hanging out of the Nakatomi Center while you were chugging a big bottle of Jack? Online smear. All right. Were you running away from Clubber Lang in the ring and refusing to fight because you were scared your trainer hadn't trained you well enough and that you wouldn't be able to hang in there, that you were just a paper tiger at this point and not the same fighter you used to be while you were downing Jack Daniels from one cup and, of course, reaching over to the other one for a little Jim Beam? Well, that's just an online smear. And that's kind of how it went. And Jack Reed had about like a dozen of these examples of him on TV many times, on Fox News, at veterans organizations, drunk out. That too, blackout drunk. Again, he's like Kavanaugh, hangs out with the same guys, Tippy and Jimmy and Bobby Boo, and they work out and they drink a lot, and then they, say that it didn't happen. That's how you get Supreme Court justices and secretaries of defense that are absolute drunkards. But I digress. Back to Tammy Duckworth, who kicked the living snot out of him. Basically, she tore his skin off. She went at him on, have you ever been part of an organization that's been audited? Yes or no? He's like, well, I've run 2 fiscally responsible organizations. Yes or no? I've run 2, yes or no? And at one point she's like, yes or no? I mean, she literally screamed it at him and got louder. She's like, well, obviously you've never been audited. You don't know how to handle an audit. So you don't know what to do if that happens, blah, blah, blah. And of course she's right, because he had 2 organizations. I'm gonna make sure I get the names right. Veterans for Freedom. That sounds like a very right-wing one, probably, because they like those names. And Concerned Veterans for America. And at both places, numerous staffers accused him of, quote, financial mismanagement, sexual impropriety. And what was the third one? It was a good one. Let's get that one too. Oh, right. Intoxicated behavior. Yippee-ki-yay. So he was drunk on the job. He was sexually harassing women on the job. And was he pocketing money, or somebody else was? We don't know. But financial impropriety. That's what he was accused of in both places. And he was kicked out of both places, as in fired, shite canned, removed, catapulted, destroyed. Come up with your own name. That's this guy's record. We haven't even gone into all of it. right? I think we mentioned the Nazi tattoo. He has no experience. And that's what she was pointing out. She's like, you are not experienced to lead an organization like this. She didn't even go into the mismanagement and all of it. You've never been through this. You don't need to be an accountant. You just need to be able to say you ran an organization big enough that it would be audited and looked into and that you knew what to do to prepare for that. But he would not do it. He would not give her a yes or no answer. So she just reamed him. And it was beautiful. Yes, it was great when Jack Reed went after him. Yes, it was great. I think my friend Tony Michaels, whose show I was on before, was showing the example of Tim Kaine, proving that he lied to Donald Trump, which of course he did. That was really good. There are a number of people who did a really good job, but Tammy Duckworth needs to be in leadership in the Senate, like now. She is one of, again, what women did the other day. She is one of the, as far as I'm concerned, the best communicators, the best questioners, and it's time for the old guard to step aside, like in the House, where we've got young and up and comers who know how to use current technology. It's like something out of a movie. Yes, like weird stuff like, YouTube and Snapchat. And I'm sorry, the Democrats who are of the oldest generation, again, they'll never get out of their fear of Reagan's shadow and realize that there's no congeniality anymore, that any norms have been established are ones that Republicans have ignored and are not based on the Constitution and need to be crushed. Tammy Duckworth gets that. She went after him. So did a couple other great folks in there who I think should be in leadership too. I've mentioned before Brian Schatz from Hawaii. Adam Schiff just got up there. He's tough. But, Tammy Duckworth from Majority Leader any day of the week, as far as I'm concerned, and certainly for a very high position. Remember, she lost her legs, I believe it was in Iraq, in a helicopter crash and came out of that to become a U.S. Senator. She's tougher than nails, and she's certainly tougher than Pete Hegseth. And it was a lot of fun watching her tear his skin off. And that is the first rant, we'll call it, the first takedown of Cliff's Note today. So let's see if I missed anything. I can fill you guys in, but I'd love to hear from you. If you saw any of that went on. Did you catch any of it? Because it was really a thing of beauty. Steve Manning, the old boomer Reagan Democrats really need to go. They do, right? And I respect the hell of them. I wrote ads for Joe Biden. I think he had a time and a place, and he was fantastic. Okay, but Nancy Pelosi and him, they just don't get it. They don't get where the energy is of the activism. How that you can't just make a statement and then kind of that's it. Like go out and do a TikTok, right? Put up. Have a plane fly by with a banner, do spectacle, hold hearings the way they did complete bogus ones on Hunter Biden. Again, because Marjorie Taylor Greene needed to see how big his, was. All right. Well, why weren't we holding hearings constantly on Jared Kushner and others? Tammy Duckworth is the type of person, if she were in leadership, she would do that. Okay. And that's what we need to do. Okay. We have to play the game the way it's played today. And no, we don't have to lie like them. The easy part is that they're a bunch of liars, miscreants, traitors, losers, idiots, scumbags, criminals, sexual assaulters. All you have to do is tell the truth about them in hearings. All you have to do is call people in front of you, members of the Supreme Court, members of Congress. They ignore subpoenas. You've got yourself a story. And the mainstream media, corporate media sucks. We've talked about this and biased against us. And we should are hopefully building our own institutions. I know this show is growing thanks to you guys. I know that my YouTube is growing. Please subscribe, by the way, thanks to you guys. But the fact of the matter is that the corporate media will cover spectacle because it gets clicks. Democrats need to understand that. Give them spectacle. Give them bread and circuses. You've got hearings where you could do that. You've got state legislatures we control that can do that right now, right? We've lost control of both houses of Congress, but we've got many other places where we can. And even people can talk during hearings and have viral moments. Eric Swalwell's shown that. Dan Goldman's shown that. Jasmine Crockett, Stacey Plaskett. She was amazing when they had the vote for speaker and pointed out that 4 million Americans had no vote there because she represented the U.S. Virgin Islands, which of course gets no vote. Neither does Guam, neither does Puerto Rico, D.C. So that's what Tammy Duckworth did. And I mean, honestly, Pete Hegseth looked like just sort of a sort of lick spittle pile of puke when she was done with him. Like he was sort of flattened out and dripping off of the desk. She owned him. It was gorgeous. Gorgeous. Jim Williams here says Nancy Pelosi should just ride off into the sunset and retire. I fully agree. Somebody else cannot take over as leader in Hakeem Jeffries while you're sitting there casting your shadow. Okay. And also while you're getting involved in races for leadership. She stepped aside as leader. In the past, when people do that, they generally left. They might stay one term to mentor who's coming next. But I mean, look, I would put Nancy Pelosi on the Mount Rushmore of legislators. She is one of the best legislators of all time. She could count the numbers. When we only had a 1 vote margin, she got stuff passed. Amazing. Like when you watch people like Kevin McCarthy and Mike Johnson, the idiots that they've had on the other side. But again, she never should have been a spokesperson, and she's now in her 80s, and Joe Biden's in his 80s, and this is not ageism. Okay, I'm in my 50s. I don't have the stamina I had when I was in my 30s, the strength, I just don't. And this is a fact of life. And I'm sorry, we're the Democratic Party. Democratic Party and liberals are not supposed to deny science. We're supposed to admit it. It's not being bigoted. It's being bigoted to say there's something wrong with people who are older for X, Y, and Z. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. And I will happily bow and say that a lot of these older folks did a great job. It's time to move on and let the folks who are younger, who have more energy, who have more aggression, who know what we're up against, fascism, who know that there is no congeniality left. There are no norms the other side will respect, and they know how to speak, and they need to take over. And one of those younger folks is right here, right now, and his name is Tony Michaels.
Hey, what's happening? I'm trying to figure out how to stream to Tom Hartman is streaming to Substack right now, his show, and I was like, you know what I need to figure this out. So I'm
they just announced it, and that
it was yesterday. Yesterday they opened up to everyone that has you got to meet certain things. So I'm trying to figure this out.
I want that more. I will say for my good friend Jim, who helps put these things up, it's Substack and Patreon are the places for people to go and get the extra stuff they can't get here. And yes, keep sharing the YouTube as a place for people to subscribe, not become members, subscribe. Membership should be at Patreon and should be at Substack. And right now I've got the folks at Patreon right now and mine are getting, everybody's seeing the same stuff for the first week. I've really pushed it because I want folks to get an idea of what you get at different levels. And then, I will deal with trying to get folks as much stuff as I can get, helping out those who have financial challenges, but then it's going to differentiate. And then at Substack for a little while, I'm going to keep doing everybody's going to get it for free. And I put you guys all in there automatically, as I sent you a note about, who are on Patreon, just so you'd be in there and you'd get something extra for free. So today, when I post, as I said I would, even if, I get struck by lightning, I will get home.
I'll twist
somehow.
His arm, everybody. I'll twist his arm, I'll beat him over the head with a hammer. I'll go to Cincinnati if I have to. So
he will. He's threatened me before. He's a very frightening guy. He's like Pete Hegseth on a bender. After Hegseth is after Hegseth is doing like a vodka chaser to his rum and gin.
This is why I don't knock him on drinking alcohol so much, because I Wednesday night is my karaoke night, so tonight is my night to go have a few drinks. So I don't disparage anyone who has a few drinks. Now, if someone's running our national defense system, it's probably not a good idea for them to be loaded all the time. Every now and again, I think it's all right. But if it controls your life and controls every aspect of your, whether you're having children with people that you're not married to while you're married to someone else, that probably I don't know, that might
the kind of thing that if you were in the military that you would get court-martialed for, you mean?
Right, exactly. That might be
that's what would happen. So we would have a commander-in-chief and a secretary of defense who both are actively have engaged in behaviors that would have any other member of the military court-martialed, and we're going to sit there and say that those are the types of people the military is going to want to listen to. They're going to, that's their role models. Their role models are do it if you can get away with it. And the thing about Hegseth, I want to be very clear. I'm not judging his drinking at all, unless it's stuff that gets so dangerous that he's driving drunk or he's, wandering out in the street like Brett Kavanaugh drunk. Here's what I am talking about though. He got drunk on the job, and I talked during my rant before you got here about Jack Reed named about 8 different incidents where he had to be carried out of public places, either Fox News while he was on air, or these 2 veterans nonprofits he worked at, where he also was accused of sexual harassment, accused of financial mismanagement, and accused of being intoxicated publicly. He had to be carried out a number of times from places where he was either on TV or in front of those who worked under him, his employees. No, that's not okay. That's different than your karaoke night. I can go to my karaoke night if I had one, which I don't. But if I did, you know, I mean, I once went when I first met my wife. We were in Kentucky, actually, working against Mitch McConnell, and we went to a karaoke night, you know, and I sang The Gambler, and I probably almost lost her forever when she heard my voice. But I was hammered, and there was no problem with that because it was karaoke night. That is very different, you see, Tony, than being hammered while you're on TV.
Right.
Never
well,
did
you
that.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. That's you know, that's actually one of the songs that sometimes I sing is Kenny Rogers, The Gambler.
Oh, I do too. It was funny. I messed it up. Back then I didn't know it as well. So I think when the change happened, you know, like for the chorus or whatever,
right.
My timing was all off. But
it happens.
Point being, it should happen if you're karaoke. My point is simply, I am absolutely, as I joked about the bottle of rum up there, which somebody gave me, and I don't even really like rum, but I love tequila, I like bourbon, and I love beer, and I like wine. Those are probably the four. And I don't drink like constantly. I don't drink at home. I don't judge anybody that does. Alone is not my thing. Once in a while it can be, but not usually. But when we go out as a family or I go out with friends, yeah, I have a couple drinks. And okay, maybe I tie on a buzz. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not causing any trouble. I'm not doing anything. That's very different than Pete Hegseth. It's very different if I was like, I have a job at Fox News. I'm like, hey, everybody, I hope you had a good summer, man. I love you. I love you, man. I love you. If I did that, then rightfully people would be like, maybe that's not the guy that should be leading the Department of Defense. Or if I showed up to my veterans nonprofit, like, hey, I've been looking at you, honey. You're looking kind of hot. How about you and I go, and I know the passwords. We go in there and maybe steal about $20,000. Go to Boca for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If I'm doing that too, also a problem. And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about whatever the hell he was doing in his private life. Again, I don't care about that unless that spills into your public life and that if you're driving and jumping in a car and crashing into people, yeah, that's a problem. And if you're so drunk that honestly you're causing public mayhem, that's kind of a problem too. And again, you're held to a higher standard when you're going to be the Secretary of Defense. Kind of like when you're going to be on the Supreme Court. It is different. You know, you can get away with even more of that behavior. I mean, people forget that a Secretary of Defense, a potential Secretary of Defense, was blocked. John Tower, Republican, was under Reagan, or I think it was under H.W. Bush. They would not let him be because he had a history of being drunk in all the wrong places at all the wrong times. But again, that's how the sort of metaphor of the boiling frog gets us to where we are as culture changes slowly. And then Donald Trump gave it a big kick in the arse, to move it to a point where the most gauche, gross, criminal, sexually harassing. I mean, there's nothing that treasonous. There's nothing he hasn't done. And that changes the society. We had certain standards, certain actual norms that were good. Like we won't elect a guy that's a convict. I thought that was a pretty good one, not electing a felon. We wouldn't elect a guy who went with our chief enemy and told translators to leave the room and sat in a room and privately talked to him, among 20 other ways we know from 16 different intelligence organizations that the guy tried to help him win. That would be another problem, and he accepted that help. The guy that had 20-something women make charges against him has been adjudicated a rapist in a civil court. Another type of thing you wouldn't want in a president. These were all good norms to have, and they've now all been destroyed by Donald Trump. And that's
what's normal. What's normal, really?
Well, that's why Hegseth has a good chance. I mean, I see folks are saying he's on there right now. Like that's what the prognosticators are saying. I'm still not willing to go that far because I do think, especially with the assault stuff, I do think that Murkowski and Collins are going to have a really hard time voting for him. And because J.D. Vance resigned, they only have 52 senators. They're down to 50. So the question is, can they get that one more senator to Tom Tillis has made some relatively not MAGA statements in the past. He's one. There's a couple others. But, anybody who was relying on Joni Ernst, who I think actually was assaulted in the military and now is supporting him. Because if you ever forget who they are and they're willing to trade any part of their soul. I'll get to my
ladder pullers. They're ladder pullers. That's what they are. They're ladder pullers. And I want to say one more thing about this is that if there is
From
such
Hal
a
Sparks,
MAGA,
the Sparklers are here. Welcome.
oh great,
Sorry, go ahead,
hey
Tony.
sparklers, the MAGA mandate. If there is such a MAGA mandate, why is it so difficult for them to confirm Pete Hegseth as Trump's pick for DOD? If there's such a MAGA mandate, it seems like this mandate is kind of flaccid. Maybe that's how Pete Hegseth rolls when he gets too wasted. Is he a little flaccid?
He's flaccid. I mean, that's, apparently according to Stormy Daniels, that's a big problem for Donald Trump too.
It must be a Trump supporting thing, trait.
Usually when they are obsessed with someone else's, and I've seen, by the way, while I was doing my first takedown as part of Cliff's note, I saw that some of you were kind enough to give me some to send some super chats or things I just saw out of the corner of my eye. I will make sure to highlight and thank you all. I really appreciate it. But back to what Tony was saying. Where were we? I believe we were talking about
Pete Hegseth not being able to get it up. The vote in the Senate to become.
Well, that was the word I was using for a while, and I don't know why I stopped to just describe the Republican Party because they hate it. And again, there's so many of them who clearly are hiding either their true sexuality or their asexuality or the fact that they're cheating on their wives, and the ones that all lecture us on what we should be doing. You can just guess. And Hegseth is also like Donald Trump that way. Perfect example, right? I think it's been 3 different women now, and he has how many kids with them? 6 or whatever, And again, well, I would even say for certain other secretary positions, maybe that wouldn't be a thing, as gross as I find it. But when the people you're leading are court-martialed for that behavior, you can't lead that group of people. Like that in and of itself, you can't be a leader of anybody. I don't care if you're at a company trying to lead workers, which is why we've had so much strife in corporate America, because they're all like, I'm going to pay myself 3,000 times what we pay you, and I'm going to treat you like utter crap. And a leader is somebody that engages people, brings them in, is a role model for them, and and he can't be, because he's an utter scumbag whose own mom said he was an utter scumbag to women before, of course, she recanted, as they all eventually do, like Ivana Trump did with the rape charge against Donnie when she was getting, or Ivanka, which one's which? I don't remember. Who cares? It's probably happened with both of them. So in any case, oh no, that didn't really happen. I just put it in the divorce proceedings. I mean, they do this so often where they recant later when it's important. And so, I mean, we have the email. We know what she said to her son. We know that she knew her son's a drunk and treats women awfully, cheats on them constantly, and cheated on any wives. And I don't know if the Fox News producer is even a wife. And again, this has something to do with like old values of, out of wedlock, which is a term that should be put away for all time, or whatever it is. It's nothing to do with sex outside of marriage, nothing to do with sex inside of marriage, nothing to do with, it has to do with, if you're going to lead people, you need to lead by example. The men and women under him are thrown out of the military and court-martialed regularly for that kind of thing, for that kind of behavior. He cannot lead those people. That's it. And period. And then you get into all the rest of it. It's kind of hard to lead, let's say, Jewish and Black and other troops when you've got a Nazi cross on you. That makes it challenging. When you've made disparaging remarks that as recently as, who was it who brought that one up? That was somebody else that nailed him a number of times about women serving in the military. And you've said that as recently as like 6 months ago, that women should never be in combat. I believe he said that's a hill I'll die on. You first, bud. You go right ahead.
Yeah, go die on the hill. Actually, I'm gonna go die on the hill with Substack. I'm gonna go try to figure this out so we can stream over there. So
go figure it out and stream me to your Substack. Okay.
Oh, sure. If I can figure it out. If I can figure it out, we'll get it figured out. All right, Cliff. Thanks. We'll see you.
Hey, thanks for checking in here, Tony, and thanks for the raid.
We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
Take it easy. Yep.
Rate it soon.
Oh, absolutely. So as this is an episode where we're talking more and more about Democrats who've kicked Republican rear, I thought we might jump into a second example of that occurring yesterday. So let's give you Cliff's Note. I almost said see Cliff's Notes. Cliff's Note 2, Electric Boogaloo, and also known as the second takedown. And you guys see what Jasmine Crockett, who we love and adore and is outstanding, is young, Black female has broken through many a ceiling to get to where she is and is a member of Congress and probably one of the literally ass-kickingest, most eloquent, smartest members there. Anybody see what she did to Nancy Mace? You remember Nancy Mace? Nancy Mace was the woman who, and was I think she may have been the first woman to go to the Citadel. So she broke a ceiling too. And she ran as a moderate Republican back in the day. And on the day of January 6th, she was interviewed on the news. And like other Republicans who ended up voting for impeachment, especially ones who'd been in the military, Pete Meyer comes to mind. She was outraged, horrified. Oh my God, how could Donald Trump do this? We're really going to have a reckoning. We're going to have to, all over the place. One of the few days I've watched cable, she was everywhere. Right. And then when she realized that Donald Trump was going to challenge her in a South Carolina primary, she changed her tune and became an evil, awful, nasty, hypocritical, just scum. She, of course, was one of the ones who turned against, with Matt Gaetz, who turned against Kevin McCarthy, which we don't care about. We only mentioned that she was in league with Matt Gaetz, a guy who every time he talks, his forehead seems to grow. And of course, never will be Attorney General in his life. He's got a great gig at OAN or whatever it is. Really solid channel there. In any case, Nancy Mace pretended she was a woman of principle. And of course, she lacks any because she is just like the rest of her party. Again, leadership comes from the top. And she looked up at the leaders and said, I'm going to do what they need me to do. So she needed to win that South Carolina primary. So she became a maggot. And she started attacking all sorts of moderates and anybody else who wanted to find a path to work with Democrats on anything. And it all came to a head more recently where she decided that she was going to make, and again, I hate this. I don't know if I can say this say this word on here. So let's call it tans, on tans issues, okay? About tanning. She didn't want she purposely, so she could stick out and she could get support from the worst reaches of her party, the most bigoted, just disgusting, one brain cell, like needing a sponge bath very badly, kinds of members of her party. She wanted their support. So, we got to make sure that there's a bathroom for men and a bathroom for women. Like she made this a deal with everything else going on out in the world with climate disaster and things going on in California that started before California, but still with, issues of kids being shot in schools, with all sorts of the terrorist attack by ISIS in North New Orleans. Now she's worried about bathrooms, and it's about one member who's elected who she does not want to allow in the women's bathroom. So tans. That's all she could talk about. She can't shut up about it because and Jasmine Crockett called her on it yesterday. First of all, have you ever seen Nancy Mace walking around the Capitol? Like, did you ever see that picture of her in that sort of weird dress where her legs looked like two pogo sticks? Is there something wrong with her that we should know about? Is she doing something to herself? Is she harming herself in some way? And I'm sort of half serious because there's something wrong with her because those didn't look like legs. As I said, they looked like pogo sticks. And am I being mean? Yes. Does Nancy Mace deserve it? Yes. I don't feel bad. But I digress just a bit. So Nancy Mace was in committee and they're having a hearing and Jasmine Crockett is there. And Jasmine Crockett struck out against her and said, well, I know some people in this committee desperately need campaign funds. So all they can say is tans all the time. But listen, child. And she called her child as in child. And that's just an expression, as we all know. But when you're a Southern white lady, you don't accept an expression like that from a black woman. Well, you're the one who gets to call them child, right? I mean, God forbid she call you that. So Nancy Mace blew her spadoinkle all over the place and started screaming out, don't you call me child? How dare you call me child? I've broken more glass ceilings than you have. No, you haven't. You broke that one at the military. Think about everything that Jasmine Crockett, as a young black female lawyer, had to accomplish. And if you acknowledge anything of your South Carolinian roots, there's probably a 50-50 chance that your family going back long enough may have owned people like Jasmine Crockett. So you benefited good chance from their labor, and Jasmine Crockett's family had their labor stolen from them if she's from this country going back far enough. I don't know both of their histories, but did not acknowledge, she's going through a hell of a lot more than you, Nancy Mace, you clown. So the clown who sells out all of her principles and has the pogo stick legs decided that she would, yell at her and scream at her. Oh, Nancy Mace, Jasmine Crockett, You don't know who you're talking to. I've broken ceilings. I'm not scared of you. I mean, she's just yelling all sort of random crap back at her. And she didn't realize who she was dealing with. We know who Jasmine Crockett is. Remember the 6 Bs? We even have a t-shirt, by the way, if you want to check out the merch store where we have it on a shirt. I got to make sure I get them right because I always forget them, right? Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. That was fantastic. And of course, that sent MTG spiraling and losing her mind. That's who Jasmine Crockett is. She knows how to hit back. She's not one of these older folks in the Reagan crouch. It's like, oh, are Republicans going to hurt me? Are they still really popular like Ronnie was? No. Jasmine Crockett kicks butt. And so she's done it to MTG. Why would she be scared of Nancy Mace? So she basically sat there as Nancy Mace said to her, tried to say to her, and again, this is who the Republican Party is. She's like, you want to take this outside? She actually said that. A sitting congresswoman said, do you want to take this outside? I thought maybe next we get some cool pre-Civil War stuff. Maybe there'd be a duel. That's Nancy Mace. White supremacy in a bottle or in pogo stick legs. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think everything is racism, but I think a young black woman questioning this woman from South Carolina who served in the military, came from a long family, I believe, in the South. She wasn't going to have any of that. So she lost her mind. She challenged her to a fight outside. And of course, then they started calling for order. But the key here is that Jasmine Crockett did what she does. She stood her ground, didn't give in to Nancy Mace one bit. She called her out for the scumbag she is for attacking a group of people and cruelly trying to go after this group of people and make them your punching bag. And then she turned Nancy Mace into hers. And just disrupting their ability to speak about issues that are important to this country because, well, she needed to be able to do her thing and, you know, raise money on going tans. And so Jasmine Crockett called her out for a bigotry, mocked her. I don't know if the child thing was on purpose or not. It is an expression. Got to Nancy Mace, which means it was a good job. And the end result is Nancy Mace was made to look like a fool, humiliated. I mean, her own party was telling her to shut up because she started yelling about taking this outside. I guess she thought it was January 6th again and she gets a redo. You know, that time she was on the wrong side. She actually said Trump was wrong. She was like, wait, do-over. I get to call one do-over. Backsies. I want to be part of it. And maybe she could join some of the other sick folks who served in the military and attacked the seat of our capital for the first time since the War of 1812. Yeah. Well, you can't attack our capital because you can't even defeat Jasmine Crockett, who owned your ass. So keep going, Jasmine. We're all here. We got your back. And that, my friends, that will be our second takedown of the day. It was brilliant and beautiful. And I will look again for further conversation. Did I miss anything? I think I covered all the important parts of this. That's right. There it is. I have to try to say it again. Where is it? Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Say that 10 times quickly, folks. What do you think? Talk to me. I'm a Hal Cult member, Brandon Woods. That is a good thing. I get from Naomi Lou Freed. I love Jasmine. Good. We all love Jasmine. And again, guys, I'm telling you, Mace Borders and anorexia, Cynthia Rice. Yeah, that's something I didn't want to say. And of course, I have a group of people that would call me sexist. They may already just because I've made fun of her legs. But, you know, to me, there's a point where when you get so personal with other people and her attacks on Representative McBride coming in have been so personal and so nasty that I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy anymore. And no, I'm not going to say anything that's blatantly we would consider sexist because I don't believe it. I wouldn't be like, you're worse, Nancy Mace, because you're a woman. Well, that'd just be stupid. But I'm going to make fun of her legs. And if you don't like me for that, so be it. So what do you think? Who else do you like? Give me some names, right? Close, I've just shared your Twitch stream on Blue Sky. Thank you. That is fantastic. I don't even know how to do that. Or I guess you just shared it in sort of a post. I put it in a post I put up there. That's really all I know how to do. I don't think they allow us to stream there yet. I'm pretty sure. That's why I'm loving what Tony was saying about Substack. I may add Substack. I may add Patreon. So if people want to go through Patreon to watch this, they can do that. and stream there. I'm going to see how many places I can stream to. I know TikTok allows you, but I'm not going to do anything with TikTok till we know what the final result is there, because there are some big arguments on both sides. Yes, if a company is handing over all sorts of data about us to the Chinese government, who is evil and awful and known, they're not communist. They're kleptocrats, just like Pooty Poot and Donald Trump and whatever, then yes, that's a problem. And we can keep TikTok. I would be happy to. They can't own it. Anybody who's a national security threat, which by the way includes Elon Musk, should not be allowed to have contracts in the United States and should not be allowed to own companies here. That's my belief on Elon Musk right now. Don't believe he should be allowed to own Twitter. Don't believe he should be allowed to own anything, or get the hell out of the country. Go back to apartheid South Africa, where you formed your original opinions. You'll be more comfortable there anyhow. We really care about these things, about our national security, and we're not just mouthing the words. So that's with TikTok. I'd be happy for it to continue. I don't want obviously some crazy Trumper buying it. Even just an objective source who doesn't care about politics buying it would but whatever, we'll see. Who's saying they're blocked on here? I didn't block anybody. Block me, baby. Sylvan Coiffon. And then you said, I like Cliff. So block you and you like me? I ain't blocking you, man. There's no blocking. Well, I have this moment, but think about others. That was a conversation I wanted to have, because we need to get Democrats back. So we need to give them the courage. Listen, if you want to mention some commentators, throw them out here. I'm interested to hear who you think are the ones that kick butt in the commentator class on the left. I'm interested to hear about electeds who you think are on the Jasmine Crockett, Tammy Duckworth kind of level. I've highlighted a number of them. If you were to say Eric Swalwell, well, you'll see plenty of videos in my channel there. Dan Goldman, yep. Stacey Plaskett, you'll see those. Jamie Raskin, you'll see those. The biggest irony of them all, and the one that actually kind of hurts a bit, and more than that pisses me off, is one of the ones I used to put up there, was John Fetterman, who went from being an ass-kicking Democrat to somehow becoming is he a Trumper at this point? If he votes for Pete Hegseth, I mean, I get he's doing some things because he's worried about being reelected in Pennsylvania, and I give some leeway on that. You can even say you're open-minded to certain Republican nominees. I don't care if that sounds better back home in Pennsylvania, but my God, if he casts a vote for him, that's it. It's amazing. And actually, when I see Jonathan Black, is it saying Fetterman had me fooled? He had us all fooled. I don't think it was fooling us. I think he has these beliefs. I think, he was who he was when he was mayor of that town. I can't remember the name. I apologize. A small town. I mean, he used to put tattoos on his arm for every person who was killed. I think that was all real. I really do. And I think his persona was real. I just think he saw what happened in Pennsylvania and he's scared. And I didn't think that was him. I thought he was a guy that had the courage of his convictions and would say, Bob Casey lost in Pennsylvania. That's a shame. He was running against a billionaire. It didn't help. And it was obviously Trump won it. But Fetterman has always appealed to certain Republicans just for his whole look and his whole anti-establishment being. He doesn't need this. And how he doesn't know he doesn't need this. He ran a smart campaign last time, mocking Oz and doing stuff. So he easily could have thrown a bone to the folks, the MAGA nuts, and voted for the people who we know are going to make it. Let's be honest. Stefanik is going to make it. Gravel Pit McGee there from South Dakota, who takes cricket is going to make it. Marco Rubio is. So there's no point. You don't need to oppose them. Vote for them. But the ones that, and none of them are good people, by the way, and they all have some level of scandal. They're Republicans. But they're not on the same level as Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and Kash Patel, who are all dangerous. And if you want to say you're open-minded, you just say, look, I've seen a lot of stuff. He doesn't look good. I don't think he doesn't seem like the type of person we should have running the Defense Department, particularly when it comes to his lack of experience. But I'm willing to sit down and talk with him. I'm good with that. I think they all should sit down and talk with these folks. I think that's the way it's supposed to be done. But don't signal. You don't have to sit there signaling so much like, oh, I could support him. And then some of the other things he said about the case in New York being ridiculous. No, Trump broke the law. And maybe that case shouldn't have been brought against Trump, because maybe sooner we should have brought the Jack Smith case and the ones that, yes, were a bigger deal than paying off a corn star, if you will. But that's the case we had that was working. And this man is a felon, and that needed to be done. I wouldn't have cared at all about that case if they taken this guy up on stealing state secrets and insurrection, some of the other things he did, and they'd moved quicker on that and gotten it done and been aggressive about that. But to sit there and compare it to the Hunter Biden thing, where Hunter Biden actually did nothing wrong except pay his taxes late and fill out a gun form wrong, again, in any other atmosphere, any person who didn't pay their taxes in time and filled out a gun form wrong would literally be the hero of the week at TPAC, or is it Teabag Pack, whatever their stupid thing, TPUSA. I mean, they would love him for that, but his name's Hunter Biden. They were cruelly going after somebody to get to his dad. That's not what was going on with Donald Trump. All right, he did break the law. So, and look what happened in the end. He got no penalty for it. No time in prison, nothing, just he's a felon. That's the only penalty he got for it. So, for Fetterman to come out on that, I don't know, again, it seems that sometimes it's Occam's razor with these things. He's trying to get reelected in Pennsylvania, but who's advising him now that he thinks he has to do crap like that? He could even work with Trump on a couple of things when Trump's president that are beneficial to Pennsylvania, okay? And not sit there and say, Trump's a great guy and blah, 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 work with him on things. And now, that and some other things would be enough to get him reelected. He doesn't need to do this other crap. And frankly, it's pissing me off. I was happy to get rid of Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. We don't need a new one. And frankly, he's going to lose in a primary if he keeps doing it. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Because there's a lot of political talent in Pennsylvania. So, via con Dios, my friend. But I didn't mean to go off on all of that. Yeah, I've gone off on Merrick Garland before Dawn Quinones, if I'm pronouncing it right, plenty of times. And yes, I blame Merrick Garland at the very least for the lack of public relations savvy and willingness to do anything. I mean, right up to releasing the Jack Smith report at 1 a.m. the other night. I mean, it's like he's gone out of his way to not win the battle of minds, hearts and minds. And that's part of the reason Trump won, because he was able to rewrite the history of January 6th because nobody else was doing the talking. Whereas the Attorney General could have had a weekly report to update Americans on what was going on and made sure people knew that every week repeated this was a domestic terrorist attack. It came from the highest reaches of government. Donald Trump was president. We can't talk about specifics right now, but MAGA, Proud Boys, whoever were involved definitively, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Did Nancy Pelosi just go bad, or have all these old people had strokes and we don't know about it? No, they've gotten older and they've become so part of like the DC insiders. Nancy Pelosi actually was a young liberal at one point. We do have to put all of this in the context of and remember that nuance and that are important, that we don't just throw out a blanket. There are plenty of laws, including Obamacare, laws that didn't get into enacted immigration reform, climate legislation, because the Republicans were able to block them in the Senate, that she got through the House when Obama was president. She was amazing at the legislating, and often on very progressive things. She just now protects, she's older, she's got friends who are there who are older like her, she's protecting them against the young upstarts, and that's not what we need right now. We need just the opposite. And she shouldn't be out there speaking at all. Again, have Jasmine Crockett out there speaking. Have Tammy Duckworth out there speaking. Have other folks we've talked about. So, Garland bowed to the pressure of, and no PR, no educating the American people. He let Trump fill in all the blanks and lie about it. And, the legal stuff, it certainly on a PR level wouldn't have hurt if he'd appointed Jack Smith literally the next day after he was there. Could John Roberts have kept delaying and immunity? Maybe. Public relations to make it clear that this is a priority, to on the first day of the administration announce that we're going after the former president for insurrection would have been a hell of a message, and it would have kept this stuff out there, and it would have allowed them to move quicker, and it would have made it harder for the Supreme Court to stop the legal case. So I don't want to even talk about Garland anymore. The sooner I don't have to say his name and he is gone, the only good thing I can think of about the Trump people taking over is that Garland disappears somewhere, that I never have to see him again, except for when history books are written about how he was easily one of the 5 worst attorney generals in the history of the country, and that may be too generous. I do know how you feel about him already, Jim. As you know, how I feel, but it's hard for me when his name comes up because some anger bubbles up. But Pelosi, again, I think for that one term, Biden did a great job. I would tell you now, looking back, well, Biden legislatively did an amazing job. Foreign policy, for the most part, did a very good job. He got us out of Afghanistan. The Republicans started to turn it into this big mess. Trump had set the date for leaving. I think when you looked in hindsight, he did an amazing job getting people out of there. The longest war in this nation's history, a ludicrous war to still be involved in, accomplishing nothing except for making defense industry guys rich. So huge win there. Some other big wins on foreign policy. Big win on climate, which is part of foreign policy in his Inflation Reduction Act. But again, he was not nearly as effective as Kamala when she came along from a younger generation at fighting back, at mocking Republicans. He wasn't used to doing it. My opinion now in hindsight, it wasn't hindsight, I said it back then, is that he should have never run for a second term. And then, because that is what he said when he ran the first one, is that he'd be a bridge to the next generation. I think he should have done that. Would we have won? Not necessarily. Incumbents lost around the world, and we were the incumbent party. I'm not, there are certain racists and sexists if Kamala had been the nominee, and there's certain people that would hate other people for other reasons. I'm not going to retcon any of that stuff. I don't know what would have happened, but I do think this is just part of a broader sort of, it's time for the 80 and 70 somethings to go. When Gen X, and I'm Gen X, but I'm the middle part, when the leading edge of Gen X has hit 60, which is where we are about now, Gen X is ready to take over, okay? And not just Gen X, don't get me wrong, all right? Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. But they should all, every single, as far as I'm concerned, committee, important communications hub, everything should be run by people from Gen X on down at this point. Everything. And we would be better off. You say Stargal 46, Joe Biden should have stayed in the race. I truly believe Joe would have won. He might have. I don't know. I will say I don't know either way at that point. I don't think it ever should have gotten to that point, is what I'm saying. At that point, there weren't a lot of great options. And, I saw the numbers that had him buried in the dirt. Now, granted, maybe the racists and the misogynists would have stuck with Biden, but then maybe the ageist don't vote for him because the media kept harping on his age. I just don't think we can know. So I think it is what it is. See, someone saying Pam Biondi, of course, said that he wouldn't answer the 2020 election. Get used to it. I think any of these folks who come in are going to avoid that question if they're asked, because of course they know if they go against Trump that they'll get dumped. This is what he did for his own pathetic ego, his own flaccidity, as we talked about earlier. Flaccid. It's a good word. And overall, as Nikki Oliver said here, President Biden was a good president. The only area he failed is in understanding that right away that key norms and developed norms over years that were not constitutional needed to be dropped. I believe that he had a historic presidency. His legislative record, I'm not sure it certainly matches LBJ's or FDR's. And he didn't have the majorities. The Inflation Reduction Act, the stimulus bill to get shots in arms, the infrastructure bill where he got Republicans to come over in their own self-interest and pass this huge, which we needed, our infrastructure being upgraded. The first gun safety bill in 30 years. And yes, it wasn't nearly enough, but it closed two very bad loopholes that save lives, and that's what that's about. Did I say the Inflation Reduction Act? I said it earlier. I may have said it again now. That had so much great stuff in there, like the climate stuff. It also had, that bill also had the one of the most important things we've been fighting for 30 years in DC and stopped by mostly Republicans, but also some Democrats from pharmaceutical states, being able to give Medicare the right to bulk negotiate like every other country has for prescription drugs, and like the Veterans Administration has. And that's cut the price for seniors by 40%, 50%. That was huge. Legislatively, there's no question. I think you'd look at him legislatively and you give him an A+. I think you'd look at him foreign policy wise, you give him a B+ or an A-. In democracy and protecting democracy is where the only place where he failed, where he wasn't up to the job of, because again, that list of things I always give here, from the debt ceiling to the filibuster to the number of Supreme Court justices that aren't in the Constitution, after an attack on our Capitol and an attempt to overthrow the government, it should have been, okay, all hands on deck. We're expanding the size of the Supreme Court, and we've got the majorities, and you know how we're going to do it? We're going to do it because the filibuster is not constitutional. And of course, Kamala Harris is going to, as the presiding officer in the Senate, because the majority leader position was created, it doesn't exist in the Constitution. We're going to have Kamala Harris stand up and say, call a point of order or whatever it's called, and say that it is unconstitutional. The Senate was written as a majority chamber, kill the filibuster, and then we could have passed all the legislation we wanted. We could have added states like DC and Puerto Rico if they wanted, Guam, whatever. We could have stepped forward on choice and guns and all these kinds of things. And then we also could have passed a bill saying that due to the fact, quite frankly, this is true. Okay, this isn't me just hiding from politics. That the United States has grown 11 times since the end of the Civil War. And the end of the Civil War is the last time we added a justice to the court. Well, you know what? They reject 99.something% of cases. They can't even do their jobs. The Supreme Court shouldn't be 9 justices beyond the politics of it because they don't have enough people there. And if you want to depoliticize it, you add more members and you have a rotating cast to look at different cases. So the right couldn't game it out and try to send like an abortion rights case there because they wouldn't know which justices they're going to get. Expand it. People said 13. I wouldn't do that. I'd expand it to 17. I mean, a country got 11 times bigger. The least we could do is make the court maybe 2 times bigger. 17 justices, panels that handle different cases. Now, if he'd done that with the Supreme Court and other courts, by the way, and said, Constitution says, no specific number, Constitution says, no filibuster, there's no debt ceiling. You think you're holding me over a barrel? It says in the Constitution, we pay our debt. It was an accident of history because we were spending so much during World War I. Nope, you don't get a right to vote on that. We're just paying the debt. Using those things, because these precedents that had formed based on nothing but some of the mistakes or the way the country used to be more, the parties used to get along better, so we didn't run into trouble with them. For us to function needed to be eliminated. And that is where Joe Biden failed. And that's why, as someone who worked for him and respects his presidency, again, in 2020, not in the presidency, just on the campaign, I will say that he was willing to break a couple of things along the way, a couple of norms to get some judges through quicker. He was willing to break some norms in what he was willing to say about Republicans. There were some things he was willing to do. I'm trying to think about. So I wouldn't give him an F or a D, but I'd probably give him about a C or a C- on that. And that's an honest assessment. But the truth is he's a top 10 president. We just have to hope that history can record that because of where we are now. Because the one big thing where he did not do enough, in the end, that and Merrick Garland and the corporate press being a joke and right-wing media disinformation and Vladimir Putin disinformation and racists here and every other reason you want to give allowed a complete joker, jester, clown who probably sniffs his own feces to end up becoming somebody who is going to be the president of the United States again soon. And he's a traitor. So Electoral College needs to go as well. Mark Lamont, I agree with you. That's not as easy as the other things I said, because that is in the Constitution. There is something called the Interstate Compact. They really need to give it a sexier name. How about the winner wins? Where if enough states, there aren't enough yet, but if over 270 states with over 270 electoral votes get in there, then we can, then it won't matter anymore. The Electoral College will cease to exist. And that is something that we can do and push for that. But Constitution, anything that's going to take a constitutional amendment is going to be tough. And by the way, I said earlier, states, that's not a constitutional amendment. You just do that. You get rid of the filibuster, DC would become a state immediately, right? Puerto Rico would become a state. I don't know. We have to look at the size of the Northern Marianas, U.S. Virgin Islands, and Guam and decide if combined they have similar enough interests that they could be a combined state, or even though some of them only have 200,000, if they need to be their own states. Wyoming only has 500,000. So I don't know, but we could have, put it this way, there's no way we should have added fewer than 6 senators. That would have mitigated some of the problem we're dealing with. That's also in the Constitution. It gives two senators to each state. So, the cow states like South Dakota and North Dakota and places like that have no actual people end up sending 2 Republican senators almost automatically. That would have made up for some of that. These are all things that could have been done. The Electoral College, the compact is the only thing that we can do with that because that is constitutional. Get a job, you eunuch. father-son. I don't know who you're talking to, but if you are a somebody, let me know if that father-son person there is a troll. Because if they are, then I'll have mean things to say. But I've jumped the gun on this before. If that is somebody responding to a troll, I will wait and see. But if it is somebody somebody who is a troll, please have them removed to the room of shame. Sylvain Coiffon, Pelosi had plenty of decades to protect abortion, never did. Well, that's not fair. They did pass a number of bills in the House to enshrine abortion rights, and it never was passed nationally. You can go after Nancy Pelosi on some things, but always was very pro-choice and always supported pro-choice bills and tried to push them. She wasn't in the Senate, so it wasn't like she had a right to vote on Supreme Court justices, but influential and who ended up in Health and Human Services, that they were pro-choice, and that we fought on that issue in 2018. I was part of a group that ran these nationwide campaigns, and that was one of the issues. No, I don't think that's her. With respect, Sylvan, because I agree with a lot of your points. I don't think that's her. I think it was an arrogance in thinking they would never actually overturn it. I mean, they were like, kept stepping on their own wanks, if you will. Like they're like, all right, we got Souter on the court, we're going to overturn it, and then Souter wouldn't do it, right? They kept getting people in the court that may have been right wingers, but were sane enough to be like, we're not overturning abortion. Even Kennedy, right? And what's her face, Sandra Day O'Connor. But they finally got their people, and that's why once it became clear they had their people, they were going to get their people. The minute that Biden was in office, again, you get rid of the filibuster and say it's unconstitutional, which it is, you're able to enshrine abortion rights in the Constitution. And the last one is right now that frustrates me is the ERA. Think about the energy we'd be given with the Equal Rights Amendment. It's funny, I just clicked on this 250 comb. ERA was never ratified. If it had been, do you think we'd have abortion rights issues? Probably not. I haven't read every bit of it, but it could be ratified. It literally could be in office right now. It could be enacted right now. What Joe Biden would need to do is stand up again and say, screw this, whatever precedent's been created or whatever. Congress passed some lame ass thing where they tried to say, well, it has to be for an amendment to be passed, it has to have a time limit. Constitution provides no time limit. It's pretty clear about that. So whatever dumbass thing they passed doesn't matter. So the fact that we've gotten the last couple states 30, 40 years later recently means the ERA is just sitting there. And my God, like the goodwill and firing people up if Joe Biden would go and demand that the parliamentarian, who I don't think would give him a fight on it, I could be wrong, would publish the ERA and we get an Equal Rights Amendment in there. What a great way to go out that would be. I don't see how they don't see it, and I don't see how they don't do it. Again, stop being scared of what Republicans are going to do. They're always going to do the worst thing. They've proven it. You can be nice to them and they'll do the worst thing. But come on, guys. I don't think anybody here gave me examples when we're talking about, oh, Jim, I see you're telling me that person was a troll. Well, I'm sure they're gone to their nice little hub in their basement in their PJs with their lube and whatever else they need. Good luck, my friend. Did anybody actually sort of give me some ideas of ads? You can appoint mods in Twitch to ban trolls if you wish, from Cosmic Rose. I'd like to. I don't know who is coming here from Twitch. So if somebody can let me know who we're talking about, I would love to. You will be appointed. I will knight you with a sword. I don't think I have a sword around here, but we'll find one, man. And you will become the troll destroyer. Yes, I'd love to have mods over there in Twitch. That would be helpful. I do have one friend who works with Hal also, whatever, who's offered to be a mod here. I meant to put her in touch with you, Jim, Andrea, and I don't know if Andrea's in here right now, but if she knows how to do it at Twitch, we could have her do it there, I guess. I'm still not an expert on this, so I guess you need different mods in YouTube than you do in Twitch. Is that kind of what we're talking about? Don't know. What I do know is, did you guys give me any other names of people that are badasses? Oh, the governor of Washington State might be in DC sometime in the future. He's a badass. We get that from Damon A. I am now embarrassed because I don't know the name of the governor of Washington. And I should, but I don't. I can't know everything, folks. And by that, I mean most things. Is Jay Inslee still there? No, this is final. This is final address, I guess. Governor McGee said to deliver his. So is that the new governor, Governor McGee? I assume McGee is a good one, good guy. No, that's Rhode Island Governor Dan McGee. Why did that show up in Washington? Hello. Why don't I just let you guys tell me whoever the governor of Washington is? J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, the Bob Ferguson. Okay, I'll be looking at Bob Ferguson. You guys can tell me who to look for. Mel Welker, were you ever go on the Vanguard? I assume you're asking me. I got to be honest. I've heard of it. I don't know exactly what it is. It sounds like a show that would be further to the left than me. And you know what? I go on it in a second. I've said before, I'll go on any of these shows further to the left. I mean, as long as people are debating in good faith, I'll debate them. And maybe I'll agree with them on some things because I consider myself to be pretty much a social democrat. Trazi asks a great question here. How's Aftab as mayor? I knew Aftab before he even ran for clerk of courts here. I've known him for years when he was a young up-and-comer. So it's hard for me to be objective because I like him a lot. But I think overall he's done a pretty good job. I think, we just had a massive snowstorm. It seems like things were handled pretty well. Streets were cleared pretty quickly. He made the one mistake, which some of you will laugh at. And he listened to a dumb New York political consultant. I know who she is. She's been in tabloids. I'm not going to say her name, but I bet a lot of you will know who I'm talking about, who told him that he should talk trash about the Kansas City Chiefs because the Bengals had beaten them a couple times in a row. And he referred to Arrowhead Stadium in, which by the way, shouldn't be the name of a stadium, but I digress, in Kansas City as Burrowhead Stadium, Joe Burrow, our awesome quarterback. And then we lost the game and that pissed a lot of people off. So, that was not necessarily the most politically savvy move, but he's made a bunch of others. He's a charismatic guy. He's pretty likable. I so far, I think things have gone pretty well in the city. We've had ongoing problems. We have a child poverty issue here. Crime, I believe, is not terrible. It's here more than the city's the right likes to talk about. We have some crime, but it's not, but I don't think it's gotten worse. But feeling overall is, I think he's a good guy, a charismatic figure. He gives people here a lot of kind of confidence. Maybe we'll have Aftab on. That would be fun to have a mayor of a city in the Midwest on. And why not have one from the city I'm from? Talk about stuff. Who else we got? Dusty Smith. Who's Dusty Smith? Jeez, guys, you're making me feel like I'm ill-informed at this point, which perhaps I am. We did have an election. Lots of stuff happened. Mark P. Somebody has here. I don't know if that is I'm looking for you. And I'm just so you guys know, I'm just looking through here. See if I missed anything. Okay, I went back all the way back up to the trolls argument and all of that. So I'm coming back down because I don't think I missed anything. What else you got for me? Yes, thank you for this. Cosmic Rose. I almost said rice. I like rice. It's very, just kidding. Yeah, again, still, I'm not asking for memberships there. That I want a Patreon, but I'm asking that you go. Our subscription numbers, I would say to anybody who's watching this right now, our subscription numbers have been stuck in mud. We got to 100,000 or so about a month and a half ago, maybe, and have gone up and down. They crushed some. Oh, Andrea is here. I see her. They crushed some of our. I guess they were bots, but YouTube doesn't tell you anything. And so, if you guys could all help jack up that algorithm again, like anybody here who is not subscribed, can you please go here and subscribe to my YouTube? I mean, if we got 50 new subscribers, let's just say right now, 100 new subscribers, 20 new subscribers, I'm going to ask you to do it right now if you can. If you're watching this, please go do it. And no plaque still, right, Jim? I think they're now I'm over 100,000 for the third time, so now they're going through everything again. And I'm not going to even ask for a plaque until I know I'm staying over 100,000. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't even care that much, right? That's a status thing, and I'm not that into that. It will be cool because I guess it'll feel cool for me as an accomplishment, but I don't want to go. I'm not big on showing it off. I care more about the fact that over 100,000, they give you the blue check so that you are you, and it is determined that I am a real human. I'm a real boy, a real boy. And I like that they let you sell your merch on YouTube. Makes it easier for me to share it with all of you. Though I've said if they by doing that they say that's the only place, I will not do it, because again I want this stuff to be out there in various places. But I do want that blue check. Just it makes it easier. People know I'm not some fake. And I want, like, supposedly after 100,000 you're supposed to take off. Can you use Patreon from Australia? Mel Welker is asking. Of course you can. I mean, I don't think. Do not think, Jim, if you can share the Patreon again, Mel, if you jump in there, I would be so appreciative. On Patreon, I do not believe there is any Australian policy that says Patreon is dangerous to wombats. I think you're good. Hello from down under. I try to do my best down under, but I used to be able to do it better when I did it more. What's his face does a great job of it. Ryan Reynolds, if you guys are Deadpool and Wolverine fans, oh my God, when he does Hugh Jackman's accent, it's hilarious. Got a couple of small boys down under. Okay, I'll stop. So yes, please, and I'm gonna say again, please. Although I guess you said YouTube, become a member. Yeah, become a member of Patreon. Member of Patreon, subscribe to YouTube. That's what we want. That is the perfect thing. And then, Substack, I haven't even written my first post yet. So I do want you guys to go there, but it will be today. I told you, rain or shine or a large asteroid heading towards just Cincinnati. I'll get the post up there. Sign up for all of those. Are you Discord Cliff's Edge 0? Well, that's interesting, Stargal, unless someone set it up for me, which they may have, because Cliff's Edge 0 is what I am at Twitch. But I was not aware I had a Discord. So maybe somebody got very aspirational and moved ahead of me and set that up. But again, and Discord, I've heard enough that down the road, I can see doing that. But like right now, it's tough enough managing. I mean, TikTok may be gone, right? Instagram, I'm not so hot on getting involved with right now because I hate Mark Zuckerberg like the fire of 10 billion suns and all of his pent up energy when he was an incel in high school and college. That's how much I hate him. But I may do Instagram eventually, but I'm not running to do that. But the platforms I'm on, I've got to keep, YouTube humming along smoothly. I'm not even still right now. I'm going to have somebody help me get enough stuff up on the community wall so you guys get good memes all day and other writings of mine. I've got to, for the existing YouTube members and people I'm sending over to Patreon, I've got to get constant stuff up there. And I feel like those are great places for community. And I feel like Substack, again, is going to be a great place for community. You're in direct contact with people. I'm on Blue Sky too. I'm not running around Blue Sky. Again, I think at this point, I'm at a point where I built a big following on Twitter over 100,000. I put a lot of time into it and it made a lot of other people money, but not me. And it's not about like money, grubby, whatever. It's sort of, if I have thoughts, if I have ideas, I love to write, I love to create videos, but shouldn't I do that in the places where I have fans and people appreciate what I'm doing and there aren't Nazis and I can actually get paid for my work? We all should be paid for our work. So Blue Sky I will be on, but I'm not going to be promoting it here a ton. It keeps growing, which is cool. I think I've got 42,000 or something, which is nice. But again, for the community aspect of this place, that is going to be the best places are going to be Patreon and Substack, and then to a lesser degree, YouTube, where again, you have to be a member because we've got if we break through with those numbers and I start doing more of these rants that used to do really well, like I did 2 of today, I'm gonna start doing 3 per show, I think. Takedowns, we can call them. And we start getting more views and you guys start subscribing in bigger numbers. And I think we can bust through whatever algorithmic quicksand we're stuck in. And I can get back to where I was before. Thank you for following me on Blue Sky. Again, I do appreciate that. I mean, I am there. I'm certainly there to promote videos. I'm certainly there to, I've got friends there. I'll pop in, especially when I check out my DMs and people say stuff I want to reply to everybody except for the corn bots, if you will. There are a few too many of those there. But also I'll share some stuff there. It's just, You can join Patreon for free and get some of what I do. You can join Substack for free and get some of what I do. So, and then yes, there will be pay levels too. Patreon sooner, Substack eventually, to get even more of what I do. And you'll always get this for free. I kind of feel like I'm in a lot of places. Don't know if I'm going to be in TikTok or not. Leaving that for now. Instagram, as I said, leaving that for now. Facebook's the whole mess where I initially let friends and business people on the same page, and it needs to be decoupled because I don't need to send personal stuff to people who I don't know, and there's a lack of security there. I'm sorry, I'm pretty protective of my kids, and then I don't want to send political stuff on pages where I have certain relatives who I have to deal with, whether I like it or not. And I don't need to get into wars that upset my family. And let's leave it at that. So maybe eventually on there, but now, and again, it could be Discord, but Substack, Patreon, YouTube membership. No. Let me try that again. Substack membership, Patreon membership, YouTube subscribe. And as Chipmunk Milk says, corn is hot. By the way, have you noticed yet? Some of you guys are kind enough to give me some super chats and stickers. I have not asked for anything yet. I'll say now, if anybody is so inclined, we still have time. I'm not leaving and going anywhere, so I'm not doing my Jerry Maguire, but every little bit helps. Sheldon Hughes, who comes through every show, and I truly appreciate it. I hope, Sheldon, I'll check the names. I hope you're for what the money you're giving, you easily can be subscribed to one of the various very good levels of Patreon. So I hope you are. So you're getting the benefits of it. You deserve that. I love the Cliff's Note part of the show. Thank you. Well, we're going to soon have 3 of them. I love doing those commentaries, and when I separate them out as videos, and I'm trying to give you guys the most content possible while also managing a crazy schedule. So why should I sit down and separately do those when I can do them as part of this show, entertain you hopefully, and then separate them out as videos to send out to the world, and hope that they pick up a solid number of views. In fact, I'll share something with you in a second. We got Monica Meadows too. So thank you, Sheldon. Thank you, Monica. She showed how underqualified Pete was. I assume that you were talking about our good friend Tammy Duckworth, and she sure did. She showed what a joke he was, from not managing a large organization to his disrespect for women, to the fact that he didn't know what ASEAN was, which again, do most people want to be defense secretary? They do not. And even if they did, they're not blackout drunks, and they haven't assaulted women. So maybe the bar's a little higher for you to know something. And then also from Nikki Oliver, President Biden just got a peace deal. He did. Nikki, that's important to mention for this too. But with Hamas, I think you're talking about in Israel. I won't believe anything fully until it goes through, because we've been down this road so many times before. But I'm hopeful, very hopeful on that. Diane Capobianco, always a great name. Mr. Stoner 2 Dude, go Buckeyes. We are Buckeyes fans. Nobody has gone to Ohio State in my family. My wife's family would be the one you'd expect because she's from Ohio. We are Miami of Ohio, folks. All right. The Miami Redhawks. You should love them. A lot of my wife's family. But here's some great history for you. And here's how America should be. My wife's grandfather, so my 2 boys, great-grandfather, came over to this country, Sicilian. We love that part. And they were the ones laying the tracks up in northern Ohio. So they settled in northern Ohio, worked on the tracks, as folks did back 125 or so years ago. And the story goes, because he's so awesome, he was brilliant. He is brilliant. He just said, I'm going down to Ohio State. Hopefully, the family was Catholic. He's like, hopefully one of the Catholic, not fraternities, because they don't have fraternities, but Jesuit houses or Catholic houses will let me stay there. And I'll either be back in 4 years or I'll be back tonight if they reject me. And again, stories always have a little bit of myth in them. He went down and didn't just get his undergraduate, but got his PhD in finance and was a finance professor at Miami in Oxford, Ohio for 40 years. So that's our connection there. But because he was a Buckeye, That's the one person who was in the family, and so we love my wife's grandpa. He's 96, and knock on wood, still doing well. And so for that, I will always, even though I don't care generally, but just for him, I will root for the Buckeyes forever. Because he is an extraordinary human being, a loving human being who pulled me in like I was his own grandkid, even though I'm not. Almost brings tears to my eyes. He's such a wonderful man. So I will, if the Buckeyes winning makes him happy, I will root for the Buckeyes. Yes, as Cynthia says, please like, oops, I clicked on the wrong one. I'm sorry. Please like and subscribe. Like this if you can. Something else to do is, I know we're all in the within the various chat room here, but once the this video's up, this live stream, if you can go comment and like it, that would seriously help it get out to more people, and that would be great too. So yeah, Sylvan Quaffon, like saying your name, I'm sorry. Florida, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan all went MAGA. They did, but by differing amounts. And there's lessons to be learned, and we'll go through that in other shows. Ohio and Florida, if we're just going to be, and I know you guys don't mind this, if we're going to be brutally honest, somebody did an analysis of that thing I can't say, that thing that rhymed, that people got that rhymes with rovid, where people didn't want to protect themselves from it. And they saw that at whenever they did that study, I don't remember what the number was in Florida, it was big, but a net 18,000 more Republicans had died due to their anti-vax behavior. Well, that number is going to grow. And then you're going to add in the fact that to own the libs, these folks especially up in the mountains in Appalachia, but in these rural areas, smoke, eat horribly, refuse to exercise, demand they still be able to be in their coal mines. I mean, it's one thing after another. Their lifespan is going down. Okay. I would rather they just acted like smart people, took care of themselves, and voted the right way, and voted for the future, and voted to take care of their fellow humans. But they're choosing to do this, and they're killing themselves, and I'm not doing it to them. People like J.D. Vance, who claimed he cared about opioids and then brought his sham foundation into Appalachia, who's on the board of that? Why, a member of Farmer. More customers. Opioid abuse too. Well, so in places like Ohio and Florida is a little tougher case because a lot of right-wing Northerners moved down there because of the lack of restrictions. So Florida may be in bigger trouble, but they didn't move here for that reason. And so the issue is always the cities and suburbs versus the rural areas. And Donald Trump has a hold on this population here because his trade and immigration crap plays particularly well, especially in the northern half of Ohio. It's been deindustrialized. Sherrod Brown, as I've said, should run for that open Senate seat. He can win without Trump there. So what I'm saying to you overall is 5 to 10 years from now, hopefully sooner, we've got people coming in from out of state because, Cleveland Clinic, Ohio has like the second best or best children's hospital in the country. We've got professional sports teams, even if they don't always play like it. We've got great top of the line arts and restaurants and all of that in cities that are really punching above their weight class and doing pretty well. And as people are chased off the coast because of price, they're moving further inland. They started with Pittsburgh and some places, and now there are people arriving in Cincinnati, Cleveland, and places because they can't afford to live on the coasts. I think when you combine all of that, and Procter & Gamble here recruits people from outside, this is still their hub, with folks, sadly, but they chose to do it, dying at a younger age in those Republican areas, I could actually see this place becoming a swing state again. It just may take a bunch of years. So there is hope here. I think there's a lot of hope in Nevada if we get back to talking to people the right way. I think if we talk to people the right way, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, again, part of that Trump phenomenon, I think they're going to have a hard time repeating that. And we need to talk more about economic issues to folks and respond harsher and get our own media information ecosystem out there to them, and a number of things we did wrong. The only one I'm not as sanguine about there is Florida, just because all of those Northerners who moved down there. But maybe once Florida becomes somewhat of a failed state, once insurers won't insure anybody on the coasts because of the hurricanes, and they're not allowed to say climate change and DeSantis and the mismanagement, maybe some of those folks will leave, and Florida will indeed become, because I've read stories about that, some of the right-wingers that moved down there and then Baffo happened. They couldn't get their houses, excuse me, insured. Give them a drink of something, some good Gatorade for the soul. Maybe they couldn't get their houses insured, so they moved back. So maybe there's hope in Florida too, and that we really need to be talking to some key voting groups, Latino men and younger white men and others that moved away from us. And really, we don't have to give up on any of our beliefs. It's about talking to them about stuff that that's cool. I mean, I'll be quite honest, as somebody who was once a young white guy, talk to people about things they want to hear about. Don't lecture them and tell them all the time that they're wrong about this and they're wrong about that. I mean, obviously sexism, racism, yes, but find common ground. It's not that hard. Bring them in show them the things that right wingers are doing to them. How they're hurting they can't buy a house because of them. How they're hurting their ability to have a job, and how inflation is going to fly under Trump and whatever. I think we can bring those folks back in. I want to also thank. I have 5 of these now. Lefty Gramps, again, always coming to you. Ohio has lost until gerrymandering is gone. That is a large part of it. Yes, I still think off-year elections. I think Sherrod Brown can win. I think you're right. It takes a couple points off of the top for us because a lot of people don't think they have a choice of anything and don't turn out to vote on the left. And that's why that was such just a sham that piece of crap, LaRose took the anti-gerrymandering thing and lied. I mean, blatantly on the side that was used language on the side that was pro-gerrymandering to make it seem like it was anti-gerrymandering, and they put money behind it. I mean, a lot of us are furious about that, but we'll try again and we'll do a better job of stopping this schmuck, this jack-in-the-box loser from pulling that crap again. I mean, so loyal to a movement that he came in 3rd behind J.D. Vance and Bernie Moreno a couple of years ago when he was running, for the Senate seat. Came in 3rd behind the guy that had gone to the dating site for young men you want to have fun with, Bernie Moreno, now our senator. In any case, LaRose sucks. I think that we can make some improvements while the gerrymandering is in place. But yes, we absolutely have to get rid of it. And that means we have to prioritize and have our people step up with real money and real grassroots efforts to win those Supreme Court seats back and declare them this unconstitutional as they did before, but enforce it. When it wasn't done, there was one other state, I don't remember, when they wouldn't rewrite the lines. I think it was Wisconsin. They said, fine, you guys won't do it. We're going to do it. Why? Our Supreme Court said, you need to rewrite the lines, but then kept giving them stays as they kept finding them in contempt of court. So they would change it a little bit in our favor and then walk away. Change it a little. They ran out the clock, and then they won the Supreme Court seats back. In the end, it got us Greg Landsman down here. It did help us win one additional seat, but we were supposed to get 3 or 4 seats out of that in the state house too. State Senate. No, that you're absolutely right, Lefty Gramps. We need it. If we get rid of gerrymandering and those other demographic changes happen, I'm talking about. I mean, again, I'm not saying there's going to be a blue state, but this could be a lean 3-point Republican state, and we can win lots of stuff in a lean 3-point Republican state. I mean, Republicans just did in some states that were either equal or were lean 2 or 3 point. I mean, Michigan's a lean 2 to 3 point Democratic state. Think about all the women they elected to every position, won back both houses of the state legislature, and everything. And then Trump came in and won. So if we can become that on the right, we could win plenty. We can win back the state house or state senate. We can win the governorship. That's what we need. And then Jimmy Jins with a $5 super chat. Thank you. This super chat is for nothing more than to support Cliff and his family, Bob Ferguson for president in 2028. Well, it does support me and my family and allows me to do more of this stuff. So all I can say is thank you, because I like doing this. And again, I hate doing it. I mean, if you all understood, thank you for that, by the way, Andre. I'm just seeing that. Wow, at 96, what an amazing life. He's my grandfather-in-law has had such an amazing life. It's hard to even sort of get into it, right? Coming over here as an immigrant and family working on railroads and ending up with a PhD and teaching at a major university for 40 years and creating this large family. And he's a national treasure is what he is. But Diane, I can answer your question very easily. Got to take off. Lefty Gramps, thanks for being here. We'll see you again soon. Why does Ohio keep voting for Jim Jordan? And my answer to you is Ohio does not. When we talk about the gerrymandering problem that Lefty Gramps just talked about, that literally may be the most gerrymandered. I'm not kidding you. They've done analyses, the most gerrymandered seat in the country. It is an absolute joke. It is drawn so that it has no like inner suburban or urban areas in it. It is all rural. If Jim Jordan had to run against any real competition, the guy that looks like Ruprecht from frickin' Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Ruprecht, why do you put a cork on the fork? Ruprecht might hurt himself. If you remember that movie, took place in Villefranche-sur-Mer, where I studied. That's why we had the family watch it again before we went to France, back to the place where I studied. Great town. In any case, back to Jim Jordan. He looks like Ruprecht or Beavis. Make your choice. And the only way he keeps winning is because the people voting for him, honestly, probably average around an 85 IQ. I mean, he has handpicked the dumbest, grisliest, stupidest. Some of them probably live in caves. Some of them probably haven't evolved the ability to reason yet. Maybe still have tails. Don't walk upright. You know what I'm talking about. We were polite until now. What changed? I don't know what you're talking about, James Williams, so I can't answer that. Where else are we? Wow, we've been crushing it today. I haven't looked at the time once just because it's been fun. I think those 2 rants are helpful and it gives us a lot of topics to talk about. So that's why I'll start coming in with 3 for tomorrow. And I have a guest who has tentatively said he will be here, and he is awesome. A terrific writer, columnist who should I tell you who it is? Should I tell you? The problem is if do I see Twitch? I don't see Twitch right now. I go there sometimes. Is there something cool going on Twitch, Epigirl, that I should see? In any case, should I tell you guys who's going to be here tomorrow? Will you come by? If I tell you who's here tomorrow, will you come by anyhow? In any case, he has not. You can check your email. I'll give you all kind of rant topics. Well, good. I will. I'm happy to have people share them. There will be plenty because, again, I used to do a lot more of these. I'm getting back to this. There are people that just need to be torn apart. And I don't usually just tear them apart myself. I watch for good Democrats or good media members, people that do their job in the media and aren't both sides or whatever to do it. And then I will jump in and add my take on all of it and also tear them apart. 2 for the price of 1. That's my most fun to me kind of takedown, let's call it. The Cliff's Note takedown. Do I think there'll be elections in 26 and 28, Epigirl? I do, actually. I think Trump is going to be just incompetent enough, and I think just enough people will stand up and ensure that stuff happens, that we don't end. I think he will try to sway them as much in the Republican direction. I think in Republican states, it's going to get even worse, harder to win because of what they're going to do. I think they're going to do kind of an Erdogan kind of thing where they, and maybe they can't get away with that even as much, where they try to tilt it as much in their favor. But Orban and Erdogan have both lost certain elections, local elections their parties have lost lately. So, I mean, they are beatable, and Trump will be very. And I think by then he'll have blown everything up. Hopefully not all of us, but destroyed enough things. The economy will sadly probably not be in good shape, and he'll have offended enough groups of people that he will be unpopular yet again. So, all right. Well, I guess nobody really was interested in who I'm having on tomorrow. So I guess it'll be a surprise. Hi all. I just subscribed with this profile. Cool. Subscribe to hopefully the YouTube. Again, subscribe to YouTube. Subscribe. The only way I'm going to defeat this algorithm, it's like a war. It's a battle. You know what it is? It's a fighting war. Did you hear when Pete Hegseth said that? President Trump has told me that we must have a lethal force and a war-fighting force. Is a war fighting like a talk-saying force or a walk-moving force? Is it what is a war? These people are so stupid. War fighting. Is that a game? I like a lot of people here like surprises. Cool. Somebody said who? People said I like surprises. Whoever puts the most in there, he's a pretty cool person, and I'm sure you're familiar with his work. And if you're not, you will be because you have to be, because he's one of the most honest columnists out there writing about politics from a liberal perspective, always with truth, always with facts, never with both sides, always calling it like he sees it, and is able to do that, and is very, very important. Trump can't fight himself out of a McDonald's bag, no. Or really just the seeds out of McDonald's that I'm sure he gets stuck in half the time. Didn't the Ohio Buckeyes win the Rose Bowl? I believe they did, yes. They had lost to Michigan earlier on, which is very difficult for my grandfather-in-law, but they did beat Texas. So, you know, you win some and you lose some. What else you got here, guys? So I asked for names before of some of your favorite butt kickers. You gave me a few. How about this? As I told you, I'm going to add to what we do here. I have right now a couple people. They are famous enough that some of you will know of them. They're among the rock star variety, one or two actors, and one of the more famous sportscasters. Some of them might be able to talk some politics. A lot of them, though, would have to come on and just talk. And it wouldn't mean our whole time here. We would talk politics the other times, and then just when they were on. What's everybody most interested in? Oh, let me know. Also, a few comedians that I know. So, what kind of individuals would you like me to interview? I've said a columnist tomorrow, but I can reach out ahead of time for next week, the week after, you know, and start seeing about a few of these people. Let me know. Come into the comments. Tell us everything. What are topics we got floating around? Check out the Vanguard. They were on, okay, you'd mentioned that. They were on Boston Brian a few days ago. I am a big fan of Boston Brian. We keep missing each other. We want to talk on the phone and chat because we know each other from online and are fans of each other. But somehow he has a real day job, man. I respect the hell out of that guy and makes this work. And so maybe I'll have Boston Brian on if he can come on. Everybody be a fan of that? Because he's pretty freaking cool. Yeah. Okay. Unless somebody has a problem with it, maybe I'll invite Brian on. That'd be somebody cool to have on. Seska, he's more attention and you're hilarious together. Okay. You have to understand, Epigirl, I try to get Seska on there. Man, his thing against, and he says it out loud, so I'm not giving it away. He said it when we were together on Hal on Monday, that he's like the only one holding out against doing live and doing video. He's like, I just, it's like he started doing an audio, podcast before most people knew what the word podcast meant. He was doing like 12, 15 years because he was not old as in old, he was a radio guy. So he does a great podcast and he has a loyal fan base and whatever. He just doesn't like doing this stuff as much. And he always is editing. So I keep seeing people saying Boston Brian would be great. So I'm going to reach out to him today for next week. That'll be one of the people I reach out to, I promise. But Bob is always editing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He's like editing his videos right after. And so that makes it more challenging. His audio podcast on these days. Like he's got stuff he's doing. Michael Cohn, interesting. I don't know Michael Cohn, so I can't, I've never met. I do know Allison Gill. I could see. I don't know if Allison, I think, Allison and I respect and appreciate each other. I've been much more of a critic of Merrick Garland's. I don't know if she would hold that against me in coming on, but I'll invite her. Dana Goldberg. I know Dana a bit too. I'd love to have Dana on. I haven't talked to her in a bit, but Ojeda, yep, could have him on. Jen Kirkman. I love Jen Kirkman. Who said that? Elizabeth? I am reaching out to her actually to try to get her on. Because I think her podcast on ADHD, it's been it has been so important to me. It has helped me. I want to tell Jen that. I know Jen, then the Twitter world blew apart and people went to different places and I haven't really been in touch with her in a bit. I was once going to go on her podcast on ADHD because, I want to be helpful to people about this stuff too. But the stuff she's brought on that has been amazing. And I'd love her to come on here and talk. Maybe she talk a little bit about her past career as a comedian, career as a writer, and then the ADHD podcast, which I love. I've seen two people say John Fugel saying, and guess what? I've got some great news for you. He's already been on. If you go to either the past live streams on my YouTube channel or you go just to my videos, you will find the full interview with John Fugelsang. And he, of course, will be on again. I was on his show last week, last Thursday night. So John's a good friend. So John, you can be sure is coming on. Jen Kirkman, I wanted him badly. Sherry Jacobus, we had on. That may be even my first guest. Sherry, promise you, we'll get her on. The only two you've had so far is I can't guarantee Allison Gill just because I don't know Allison. She follows me. We've talked in the past. I don't think she holds it against me that we do disagree on Merrick Garland because John Fugelsang goes on one of her shows and disagrees with her. If she doesn't, then I will be happy to have her on. Michael Cohn's the only one you said that I literally have never said a word to in my life. I do not know Michael Cohn in the slightest. So if somebody knows him and you want to hook me up. Jody Hamilton, we had her on a week ago. I'm going to separate out that interview and we're going to put that up separately. We played that a few times. I love Jody. Jody's going to be on here a number of times. T-Rex, okay. T-Rex I know quite well too. Rude and I have talked about it, actually. We literally discussed it. The problem is, as you know, if I have Rude on, I have to just accept that one's being entirely demonetized. And we're just, because he's like, yeah, I'll come on. We'll swear a lot. And I was like, all right. Allison is evolving on Garland. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll see. But Jody will be back on, I can guarantee you. Fugelsang will be back on, I can guarantee you. Seska will be back on, I can guarantee you. I will get him to agree, even if it's only 20 or 30 minutes. I'm going to make his ass come back on and tell him that you guys asked him. Trey Crowder. I love Trey Crowder. I find him hilarious. I do not know him. So, but I do know some common people that know him. Malcolm Nance. Well, we had Malcolm on already. Malcolm's a good friend. He'll be back on too. Kimberly. If you're referring to Kimberly Johnson, I would love to have Kimberly on. Kimberly has, I understand fully, and I don't know what she said publicly and hasn't said, so I'm going to hold back. But let's just say, I think, like some of us, I was told you I was saved from being kind of in a bit of depression from when I went to France and all of that. Kimberly, the results of the election, really hit her hard the way they hit me hard. Is Nance suing the New York Times? He may be. I may do that. Well, I can have Nance back on. Cliff Cash. I don't know who that is, but I'm open. Tennessee Brando, I don't know. Gabe, if you mean Gabe Sanchez, I can get him. Another one, Keith Oberman, I do not know, but the famous sportscaster, as a hint, who I told you I do know quite well and has agreed to come on, used to be part of that whole big crew that made SportsCenter famous. And so we will have, maybe through him, I can get Keith on. I don't know Keith personally, even though I did go on Countdown once back in the day. A few times, actually. Keith, I think, was hosting it once, but I think there were fill-ins. David Schuster one time. David's a good friend. He's done something that's sort of, he's at the Young Turks, but he's done like their foreign, I think I feel like it's like these stories from abroad. He separated himself from all the bad stuff, and David's a terrific guy, but maybe he can't come on here because I've said some things. I do not know Brian Tyler Cohn at all, for whoever's saying that. So that is somebody, again, some of these people I'll tell you, you would have to introduce me and you would have to get them to come on. Glenn Kirshner, I know a bit. Now, I'm not close with him. We follow each other. I know him a bit. I bet I would have a shot. Same with JoJo from Jers. I do not know her very well. I know her kind of tangentially. Maybe not. I can't. That is one I cannot guarantee. Jesse Dollamore. There's a name from the past. How do I say this? I'm not really sure what happened, and I don't need to start any public stuff. I got my start in the beginning there. I used to be invited on Jesse's show and would go on. And for reasons that I don't know or understand, he just stopped inviting me on. Sam. So if I'm being honest with you, I've got nothing against Jesse Dollamore. I always thought he was a great guy. But out of nowhere, I stopped getting invitations to his show. I took that as a message that he didn't want to do stuff with me anymore, as one would. I'm not offended or insulted. A pretty well-adjusted guy, but I don't think I'm going to invite him on if he doesn't want to have me on his show. There must be a reason for it. Maybe I sneezed at the wrong time or something, or who knows. Rick Wilson. I do know Rick, and that's one we could probably make happen. He was on my podcast back in the day. I want to go to France. You are right to want to do that. One of the most amazing places ever. Stephanie Miller. Stephanie, I mean, I'm going on Stephanie for all of you on Tuesday. I'll be on at 11 to 11:30 Eastern on Tuesday. So when I'm on, I will corner her because she doesn't. I guess Stephanie's so busy; she doesn't always do other shows. But I will get her on here. I obviously know Stephanie quite well. She's a good friend. Tabitha Speaks Politics. I've seen the account. I do not know Tabitha. Frangella, I know those guys. I did, when I went to the performed at Sexy Liberal in Minneapolis, I can almost definitely get them on here. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a good shot at getting them on here. I know them well enough to reach out. They may not want to do it, but I can try. Any of the Pod Save America guys, do not know one of them. Do not know any of them. And they have never invited me on. And again, I'm not offended, but just don't know them. If I meet him, I'll have him on. Greg Oliar. That he's been on before, Cynthia. Didn't you see? I'm going to repost that interview with him. It's because I've got it as some extra content from one of the live streams. It's been sitting there and it's always relevant. I've been on the 5-8. He's been on here, and I will have him on here again. So most of the people you guys are mentioning, I found you through Jesse. Well, Brenda, I should thank Jesse. Maybe you can ask him. I really don't know what happened there. Honestly, I don't know. And I'm not angry at all. I'm really not. I don't know. Sometimes you learn in life. It's like with you have certain friends, certain whatever, and sometimes you stop hearing from a friend and you don't know. Maybe they got too busy. Maybe they decided that they don't like the smell of you. Don't know. Sam Spade is a troll. Well, then we should probably have him removed. I do not know Greg Palast, Jonathan Black, Sam Cedar. Now that would be fun. You may know I used to go on Sam's show. I haven't been critical of Sam. I have been at times of some members of his audience because they got very angry at me when I supported Hillary over Bernie in 2016. And Sam needed some more diversity on the show. That was part of it. I was a regular guest on there for a number of years on Fridays, the casual Fridays with Cliff Schechter. And, and because he needed more diversity and because of some of his audience getting truly pissed at me, even though I always give my reasons why I supported Hillary, and I thought they were pretty good. That stopped in 2018, 19. I'll invite Sam on. I'd love to have Sam on. And so just so you know, I think Sam and I talk every once in a while. We're still friends. I mean, I'm not saying I talk to him every day, but he's a terrific guy, smart guy. I disagree with him on some things, and you know what? That's the beauty of it. We all should. I will see if I can get Sam on the show here. Considering how many of those Fridays I went on his show, and not you. Well, Sam Spade is a troll. Tara Setmeyer, know her a bit. Don't know her really well. Could try. Kyle Kalinsky, I literally have never interacted with and do not know at all. Chipmunk Milk, otherwise I would invite him. But you've come up with a pretty good list. Mary Trump. Yep, I know Mary, and I used to go on the Nerd Avengers with them. But I got busy with my stuff, and she got some busy with some of her stuff. And I kind of feel like, again, that was a diversity thing. They got Brian Karam on there. They've got Norm Ornstein. I think there are a few too many of us that were of a certain hue and whatever. And I fully support that because I think there should be diversity. And so I think that she started adding to sort of people of color. She had on women, and I think that's good. And so I haven't talked to her in a bit, but I've always been a fan of Mary's. I think I could pull it off. Brian, we've had on before. He's hilarious. I love him. He's a good friend, and we absolutely can have him on again. Wajahat Ali is a friend. I don't know him as well, but I bet we can get him. You guys are coming up with a great list. But okay, we've come to the end of this part of our program, I think. What else, what else do we have to say before? We'll you've given me a list here. I'll go back through this. And we can see. There's also, I want to be able to be free to be me as much as I can be, let's say, on. I know Danielle Moody too. I can try to see if she wants to come on. I'm, as much as I can be on YouTube, there's a limit, as we all know, about what you can say and what you can do and whatever. But that's why I've hesitated to have members of Congress on, others who I know personally. I've had interactions with Eric Swalwell, who I'm a big fan of. Greg Landsman, who's from down here, who's terrific, is a good friend of mine and was a good friend of mine before he was even on the city council. May reach out to Greg, see if he wants to come on. There's some other folks, senators, members of Congress, Ted Lieu and Adam Schiff both went on my old podcast. I bet we'd have a great shot there. But only if you guys help. And here's how you're going to do it. All of you must go and subscribe to the YouTube right now. You know why? Because the bigger that number, the more likely members of Congress and people like that come on. So if you have not subscribed, go subscribe right now to the YouTube, please. Again, it's free. And then you can go join the Patreon and you can go join the Substack. And you can pay if you'd like, because I'd love you to. It helps me do what I do, but you can also join them both for free. I think we are reaching that part of the program. This has been a pretty awesome thing. And I think you guys liked it. I think it really worked having the 2 rants today. I think it made the show flow better. I think with 2 rants and a guest, or 3 and a guest, there'll be no dead airtime or even searching for stuff to talk about. Like, we'll do our things. I'll toss out topics to you guys and questions like I just did. You can answer me, but we will never have to search for anything. Nikki Oliver says this is a great show, and I am truly thankful to you for that. Boston Brian, the Vanguard. Again, somebody has to, and I can find out offline who the Vanguard is. Farron Cousins, Karen has been a good friend for ages. I used to go on Ring of Fire. I haven't talked to him a little bit in a bit, but I went on his show a little while back. I'm trying to remember if he ever came on mine. I don't think he did, because I don't think I was doing a live stream yet. So I can reach out to Farron. Sure. Good dude. And I've hung out with him. We used to, when I used to go to these conventions, lawyer conventions. He works for Mike Papantonio, you may be familiar with, and I used to go and do PR for some of them in Vegas. So Grumpy Cat says, thanks, Cliff, for the awesome show. Thank you for thinking it's an awesome show, and thank you for being here, because this could not happen without all of you. Call in your favors, Cliff, Chipmunk Milk. I will. Again, I told all of you I was who I know, who I don't know. And, the thing is, we'll get to the ones I don't know eventually, because I want to have a wide variety of people. But when there's such a big list of the folks you mentioned, your Brian Karams and John Fugelsang's and Sam Cedars and whatever, some who've been on, some who haven't, and some of them may say no. Anarchy Princess, I do not know her, but I could be probably put in touch with her. I'm trying to think who else you said. Boston Brian, going to reach out to him and ask him to come on. Who else did you guys have on? Who are you saying? Who'd you put out there that I was just talking to somebody about coming on, losing my mind. We've said so many names here, but there are a lot of good folks that I will reach out to, and I will go back, as I said, through this list. It will be there once this goes up there. So do I have to do it? Do I have to do it, guys? Who's coming with me? We're about at that point. Who's coming with me? Politics Girl. Good call. And LB is actually a really close friend from 5'8". I invited her. She was busy doing some things. I will get LB on here. I will get Politics Girl. I know a little bit. I can try. Sorry to whoever, Mel. Not you, Mr. Stoner. I am never having Susan Sarandon on anything. I like her acting, and I blame her for pushing Jill Stein and being one small part of helping our country be where it is. So sorry, I don't want to ever talk to Susan Sarandon or ever see her. No offense to you, but maybe that was a joke. But if you were serious, I no. The son of the founder of Hamas. Yeah, he said some really interesting stuff. I would have him on. See you saying Lee McGowan again, of course, who is Politics Girl. I will have, if she'll come on, I'll have her on. Absolutely. Again, we know each other through people. We follow each other, but so who's coming with me, guys? One. I just need one super sticker or super chat. That's it. That's all I need. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? And come on, let somebody new, right? Sheldon Hughes has been amazing. Mike McAndrews has been amazing. We've had some other folks who've given multiple times. How about somebody new? Something, again, 99 cents, $1.99, something like that. Just so we can leave on a high note. That's all I want here. Wayne Gawon, we will have Sherry Jacobus again. Who is coming with me, guys? Come on. You're going to make me leave empty-handed? Are you going to make... There we are. See, and it's Sheldon Hughes. Come on, guys. Sheldon is already given 2 or 3 times. He's a member. Again, I don't know everybody's financial situations, but $1.99 or 99 cents, There we go. Wayne Garon is a member for a month. Thank you for that. You are awesome. Even if I will try to convince you to move over to Patreon to be a member there, but you know what? Membership is good at, and I want to make sure I tell people, like, and I've said it before, Jonathan Black, see, there you go, $1.99. That's all we're talking about. Yeah, we're getting the little ones. See, they're coming in now. Thank you. Go Accord Go with a $1. Thank you so much. Karen Klein with a super sticker for $3. Thank you so much. Nikki Oliver again with a $5 super sticker. See, guys, this now I could go out a truly happy, healthy, and hopefully not too socially deranged man. I don't have to go out and commit acts of violence now, or petty crime, maybe knock over a liquor store because of you guys. So I really appreciate it. Elizabeth, $1.99. Thank you so much. But we'll keep doing this. We'll keep having these conversations. You guys are, that was a flood of stuff. You guys are amazing. Is 99 cents the lowest someone can give? It's the lowest I've seen, Big Stephen Van. But if you want to try 15 cents or something, go for it. I don't get offended by anything. Oh my God. Now this is amazing. Wayne Garon gifted 10 Cliff's Edge memberships. Well, so it looks like the YouTube memberships will be growing. But I did want to talk to you about that. We are going to condense that. There will be one $5.99 level, $5.99 level on there. Most people are at that or below right now. I sent a message to a couple folks on there who are at $10. We're not going to be able to do that there because, again, there's too much to manage back and forth. So if you want to be on the $10 level, the 3 or 4 folks, you know who you are, you're going to need to move over to Patreon for that. Otherwise, the $5 level is going to be $5.99 here, just because the way it works out with YouTube. Let's help Cliff get monetized on Twitch. I am monetized. I got to fill out the stuff. So thank you for that. But again, it doesn't mean I don't want you to become members on YouTube. If it's that or nothing, please do that. But I think you're going to have access to so much more at Patreon, and we're going to have so much more interaction. And so I just will say that will be my go-to, and it won't only be the $5.99 level. It'll go all the way up to $2.50, where you get to have a phone call with me, get together for lunch with me. If you ever want to do that, maybe meet a rock star. Cool stuff up there. Politics Girl just had a great takedown of the LA fire misinformation. Awesome. And NYL for 5. Thank you. You may have seen I interviewed my friend Adam Roth of a Creative Roth family, and that he also, I think, during some of that, shared some things. It wasn't a takedown, but shared on the ground some stuff, started to debunk some of the misinformation. So that was a cool experience. Adam's awesome. Thank you, Nikki, for becoming a YouTube member already after giving me these donations. You are fantastic. I don't know what to do. I do know I'm at 3:58, and if I don't say goodbye now, I won't be able to replay this because over 2 hours, and they freak out on me. So you guys are awesome, and as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. Until tomorrow, my friends.